Oh, hello, hello, once again to the GSMC Wrestling Laureate podcast. I'm your host, Eric Rodriguez. Of course, always on the mic Monday through Friday, here with all your cool wrestling factoids, talking to you guys about professional wrestling of all kind of sorts, TNA, Ring of Honor, WWE, AEW. We talk about it all here on this podcast. So make sure, you like and subscribe to the show. But I know today is Friday. A lot of you guys are, kicking up your shoes, getting ready for a great weekend, great Father's Day weekend. Happy Father's Day, by the way, to all the wonderful fathers out there that absolutely love their kids, their wife, and just their life all in all. It's going to be great. It's going to be great weather, especially here in Southern California. Definitely barbecue weather. So I'm excited. Definitely that's what I'm going to do with my three brats. I'm just kidding. No, they're not brats. They're not brats. I would like to introduce you to all my kids right here. All right. First, I'm just kidding. We don't have, this isn't that kind of podcast, but maybe one day. Maybe one day. Thank you for tuning in to the GSMC Wrestling Laureate podcast brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. We have a great show for you today lined up. We have our WWE Smackdown preview. It kind of already aired in Glasgow, Scotland, and this might be way, way, way like a little too late. But I haven't seen anything. Honestly, like if you guys are going in blind like I am, I'm waiting for it to air on Fox at 8 p.m. I'm excited. I can't wait to see what happens the night before, the Clash at the Castle. So, it should be interesting. We will be covering also. We'll be covering on my Thursday night wrestling review. We dive into TNA Impact. I know tonight we also did have the Against All Odds, and there are results posted. I glanced over them a little bit, and that's not my fault because I was like, you know what, I'm gonna, talk about a little bit of TNA, and I was like, I kind of want to dig it a little bit deeper. I kind of saw some, I'm a cheater. I'm a dirty, dirty cheater. I'm just kidding. No, I'm not. But no, I seen a little, I really want to watch it. Obviously, what kind of came from, what speculated in terms of Jordan Grace's, challenger for the title. I kind of thought it was going to be, and honestly, I really, really don't like it. But we can get into that probably on Monday. I'm going to talk to you guys about the TNA Against All Odds as a whole, and we'll get into that. But our third segment, we're going to dive into our WWE Clash at the Castle. We're going to talk about some matchups. We're going to talk about who's going to win, what's the best projected storylines coming out of that win. Also, who's the winners, who's the losers, out of this pay-per-view, heading toward WWE SummerSlam. Our fourth segment, John Moxley recently said in an interview that he's so happy that he has left WWE and he has no intentions on going back. So my wrestling fandom, my fantasy, my wrestling Friday fantasy, I'm like, I would like to see John Moxley back into the WWE. So we're gonna go through, basically his time in WWE, how he felt when he signed with AEW, and just basically maybe potentially a future within the WWE. And lastly, every Friday, I want to leave you guys with some cool wrestling news that you guys can, sit at a bar stool. And if you're talking to a wrestling guy, be like, hey, man, have you heard about that? You'd be like, yeah, dude, that guy from, the weird guy from the GSMC Wrestling Laureate podcast was like, dude, you guys should pay attention to this. So we're going to talk about that. But before we move on, before we get any closer to any of those topics, I want to remind you guys to use the tips and donations link at the GSMCpodcast.net. Go ahead and shoot on over like a nice and like a nice tip. I know you guys love watching my beautiful face. I'm just kidding, no. But so to ensure that your question gets read on air, I ask you guys to use the tips and donations link at the GSMCpodcast.net with your questions. Just put your questions up on top so I can see it. Tell me what you like. Tell me what you don't like. Tell me what you think in terms of WWE, the best part of TNA Impact, the best part of Ring of Honor, any any wrestling character you kind of have a feeling where they should go. Let me know. 1,010%. Let me know how you guys feel. Ultimately, this podcast is ran because you guys. This is my podcast, but ultimately, this is our podcast. We're a wrestling fandom. We will always be together. Everybody, every single time, and you can't lie about this. Every single time you see another wrestling fan, you automatically kind of have this chemistry with the other person. So that I feel like that kind of fandom is actually really, really cool. So yeah, it really does help the show, guys. Here at the GSMC Sports Network, we do love a lot of peace, love, and positivity. Again, the link is at the GSMC podcast.net. So let's jump right on into our first segment. We're going to talk about our WWE Smackdown preview. So well, no, we're not live, but WWE has taped, an episode of SmackDown in Glasgow, Scotland. We're gonna start off with the Grayson Waller effect, the special guest with being D.I.Y. I honestly think D.I.Y is going to be the next people to kind of challenge Grayson Waller and Austin Theory. I feel like it's kind of perfect because just because of all these injuries within WWE, Bobby Lashley, CM Punk, Drew McIntyre, but Drew McIntyre recently came back a couple weeks ago. But you have all these stars that are injured. You have all these heavyweight contenders. Logan Paul was doing God knows what, like he was doing promoting with his own, impulsive podcasts and stuff like that. So, of course, you have the LA Knight. Of course, you have Carmelo Hayes. That's kind of being brought up from WWE NXT. But I honestly kind of feel like WWE needs a little more heavyweight, kind of high card kind of people. And Austin Theory was promised to, he was Vince McMahon's last guy before Vince was kind of let go. And as soon as Vince was let go, like Austin Theory was kind of like, oh my God, what am I gonna do now? Grayson Waller, of course, he's a pretty prominent superstar, has a lot of accolades in WWE NXT. He's the WWE champion with Austin Theory, so he can fight, he can wrestle. I can probably see him, kind of I don't know, it'd be kind of interesting to kind of see him going after Sami Zayn's Intercontinental Championship, but that's like on different shows. So I don't know. It should be kind of crazy how this, kind of pans out. I would like to see DIY fight, and probably, I would like to see them win. I want to see them beat Waller and Theory. Next, we have the LA Knights' path to the United States Championship. So far, it's been so good for the LA Knight. Yeah. Will Logan Paul be in Scotland? Honestly, I kind of feel like he's not. And it kind of sucks. It kind of sucks, and I'm gonna get into that a little later, so I'm gonna save that. Um, Also, you have Chelsea Green pissed off Naomi last week on SmackDown. So, are we gonna see a one-on-one match between those two women? Honestly, it'd be kind of cool. It'd be kind of, interesting to kind of fill in the void there in terms of SmackDown, time. Of course, it's a 2-hour show. Obviously, a 1-hour discrepancy between Monday Night Raw. But, Chelsea Green has to promote Piper Niven because Piper Niven is going to her home country to challenge for the WWE Women's Championship. So you can bet your ass that there's going to probably be a little, a little push, a little shove, probably a promotion, probably maybe a sneak attack that, ultimately causing these two girls to walk into Scotland, Clash at the Castle as, the main bad guys. So, that should be pretty badass. Michin's going to fight against Nia Jax. I feel so bad for Michin, speaking that she is the number one contender for Kaylani Jordan's NXT North American Championship. Um, but Michin's crazy. She's crazy. I feel like she's kind of like that loose cannon. She's absolutely great inside the ring. She's a great tactical wrestler. I know, like she gives off this vibe that she's absolutely like, oh, I'm hardcore, bro. I'm hardcore. But if you pay attention to her matches, she does really, really good. She knows how to, she knows how to do submissions. She also knows how to like get out of a counter whenever it's dire in terms of a match. So this isn't just a layup for Nia Jax. I feel like a lot of people think that since Nia Jax is the queen of the ring, which by all means she deserves all the credit, and we're throwing all the flowers toward the Inoue family member in Nia Jax. But honestly, I would honestly think that it's better to kind of have a good match instead of like a squash match, especially if you're trying to build up Michin for a title shot for the North American Women's Championship heading to our next week on NXT. So I feel like if this is a squash match between Michin and Nia Jax, I feel like that's kind of dirty. I feel like that's kind of nasty. I don't like that. I don't like that at all. Um, Next, we're going to see Kevin Owens go one-on-one with Solo Sikoa. I freaking thought that this match was going to be, and I honestly would have been better at Clash at the Castle, but I don't know what's going to happen at Clash at the Castle in terms of the bloodline. Although there's been a lot of flirting around Talatonga, the Tungian, and with Kevin Owens, just he's kind of essentially kind of being by himself. And you can't really blame him. You can't blame his character development because essentially, I feel like a lot of these WWE fans, a lot of these old WWF Attitude Era kind of guys, and I know I speak on behalf of myself, that you kind of see Kevin Owens as this Stone Cold Steve Austin kind of figure. And I'm not just saying that because he's been confirmed to, he's been gifted the Stone Cold Stunner, but just the way Kevin Owens is. Kevin Owens has always been amazing on the mic. He's always been really prominent in producing great matchups. But most importantly, Kevin Owens, he's just kept his name relevant. He's just kept his name relevant. He's been the WWE Universal Champion. He was beat by Goldberg. Everybody kind of thought KO was kind of dead, but he came back. And then after that, KO kind of bounced around with WWE, tried to get his championship back, feuded with Chris Jericho, and he was kind of written off, but he came back. Kevin Owens, he flirted with the opportunity, maybe the chance of going back to WWE NXT. But it didn't happen. It didn't happen most importantly because WWE they understand and they honestly respect how special Kevin Owens is and kind of just his I wouldn't be surprised if you would see Kevin Owens as a WWE champion moving forward. I know a lot of people kind of doubt that. I know a lot of people kind of look at WWE Kevin Owens is like, dude, you can win the Intercontinental Championship, you can win the United States Championship, and that's just crazy. That just proves the discrepancy between the higher ups in terms of wrestlers and also the mid carders. The mid carders, I feel like the range goes from like right here. And then you have the heavyweights. You have the people who can challenge for the WWE Championship, who can challenge for the WWE, World Heavyweight Championship. And I feel like it's just so minimal. And WWE honestly needs to work on that because it gets to the point where you're like, if Kevin Owens fights Cody Rhodes, we know Cody Rhodes is going to win. It gets to the point where Cody Rhodes fights Solo Sikoa, and they're like, we know Cody Rhodes is going to win. Damian Priest fights someone like Sami Zayn. They're like, okay, there's not much people at the top, and I know as a wrestling promotion, you kind of want to have that shock value. But I think it's to the point where right now it just seems so surreal. It just seems so surreal to the point where I feel like that's why WWE is kind of opening up the gates a little bit. I know, like, you have Ring of Honor, you have All Elite Wrestling, you also have TNA Impact, you have the MLW, you have the NWA, and there's just so many guys. There's just so many guys who are good guys. They're great wrestlers. These guys can put on matches and matches. These guys can put the butts in the seats. But, obviously WWE has always closed. They've always shut. They've always screwed and bolted that forbidden door. I think it's time for a change. I think it's time for a change. I think it's done. It's time for WWE to kind of step up from that 2-person, 3-person, maybe worthwhile of winning the WWE main championships, like the Undisputed Championship and like the World Heavyweight Championship. Moving on, we also have, I'm also thinking like, will Randy Orton help Solo Sikoa? Will Tola Tonga, will he make a preview? Will there be kind of like maybe like a promo? I doubt it. Also, Cody Rhodes brings Mama Rhodes to Glasgow, Scotland. And I gotta be honest, if we see a bloody Cody Rhodes, totally bloody, and if you see him pandering to the Scotland crowd, and he's like, and AJ Styles is like, this is what you got, Mama Rhodes. Like, if they're trying to mimic what The Rock did once when he was doing the Final Boss thing, heading toward WWE WrestleMania 40, I don't want to see that. Not a lot of fans kind of want to see that. Can't wait to watch it. It's live. Well, not live, but it's on the West Coast. It's live right now. So Yeah, no, it should be pretty awesome. Also, lastly, kind of what wanted to talk about is I was watching the Colin Cowherd show this morning. Saw a random ad for SmackDown. You saw Bobby Lashley in it. You also saw Bianca Belair, and I don't know, this could possibly be a Bobby Lashley push. I know, you might be thinking, like, Eric, you're crazy. There's a lot of WWE, promos. There's a lot of WWE advertisements that go on through the USA Network as well as the Fox Network. We don't really trip about it, but honestly, I kind of feel like they need Bobby Lashley. 1,010%. I feel like ever since he got injured, they missed him. And now I feel like WWE will finally use Bobby Lashley to more of a world heavyweight WWE championship contender because he's been that. He lost to Roman Reigns. I feel like it was like 8 to 10 years ago. Not 8 to 10 years ago. I may be exaggerating. But Bobby Lashley had all the smoke. He had all the attention. He had all the momentum. To have him lose against Roman Reigns, that, obviously that was Vince McMahon, but I feel like there's going to be a heavy Bobby Lashley push, which I feel like is well deserving. This guy's been within the company for so long. He's a retired, a U.S. Army and U.S. Marine, excuse me, veteran, and he's just been pushed around by WWE ever since he surfaced in 2006. It's time. It's time to push Bobby Lashley for the best, for the betterment of the company, and just overall for I think it's time. It's just time. It's for Bobby's time. Bobby's time. Well, guys, do not go anywhere. We're going to jump right on into our Thursday night wrestling review. We're going to talk about Thursday night. You're going to TNA Impact. We're also going to talk about Ring of Honor. So, hey, do not go anywhere.